Welcome back to the channel. In the previous video, we took the New Holland compact and scraped down a swale. We hit some cobble, some concrete, some blacktop, but we got a little bit of drainage because there was a wet spot right in there, a big puddle. It would last a couple of days, and Dawson was tracking mud into his building, and so I want the natural drain to happen. This ground is so hard you can't put a drain tile in it without blasting, because under his building there's a huge rock. It comes all the way over to here. It's about 40 foot, 30 foot. It's huge. And it's all ledge right there. So anyways, I wanted to make the swale, and I cut the swale. I had a piece of used drain tile, 6-inch, I put under there as a culvert. I took the crusher run. We got a load for $20. It's about 3 yards. I graded it out for a couple ramps. Dawson wanted to do a wooden ramp to his building. He didn't want the gravel right up to the doors, which makes sense. He's going to get splashed, and you have to allow a little space for snow. So I graded that off with a rake. Our swale looks to be working. We've got natural drainage. It rained and it's not wet there. And it comes down and goes right on through and then right out into the woods. Around his building, I think at a later date he wants like a crushed stone, so drippings from the roof doesn't give him a lot of splashback. On the gable end, he shouldn't get too much. What I want to do today though is get out the plate tamper and firm this up. It should pack down really nice because it's damp. When it's dry, it still packs good, but it's real dusty. So let me get a start on that. I'll grab the tractor, I'll scoop it up with a bucket and bring it out here, and we'll get a start on it. Okay, I brought the old plate tamper out. It's about half full of gas. Let's get a nice little look here, before and after. You see this crusher should pack down nice. I just kind of raked it smooth. This here is just a little topsoil, so I probably won't mess with that. But I want to do the ramp coming in, and you see how same thing here. This is loose, moves around. There's some pockets in it. Let's see how good this plate tamper works. I got this Homelight 5-horse plate compactor that I've had for a number of years. It was on the side of the road. Guy said I can have it for 50 bucks. I said sure, I'll take it. But the motor was bad. I had this engine I had gotten from a garage sale. I think I gave him like 10 bucks for it. It ran really well. But the problem with this plate tamper is when you're working with dirt without a water, this doesn't have a water, spray, your soil gets real dusty, and the dust sticks to everything, as you can see. Well, it gets in this pull rope assembly, and what happened is I wanted to use it for the driveway project out there, and I pulled out, it doesn't catch. Well, it finally started, and then it started squealing like crazy. And now it acts like the engine's set up. Can't do anything with it. So I checked the engine, and it's not set up. It's a pull rope. See, this swings over. So I brought this in with a tractor, and I thought we use a lift because it brings it up to a pretty good height. The problem we got with this one is these are, 7/16, 2, 3, I don't know if there's one in there. There's at least 3 bolts on it. But to loosen this up, you can't get past this bracket. That's a real shame. So what we got to do, it'd be nice if this would unhook here or something, but it doesn't. So what we got to do is take the engine mounts off. The front 2 are pretty easy. And these back 2 are terrible. And see, the engine had a Homelight engine on it. And I switched it out for this Briggs. I think it's a Briggs, right? Briggs 5-horse. And you can't even see these bolts, but they're way up under there, and there's 2 more of them. So I'm going to try to get them out. I might lower you down so you can see it. So these bolts are way in there. So I got out a 1/2 inch, and there's not much clearance, so it doesn't look like I can use a ratchet. And that one might fit. Maybe. Sorta. But I want to take these bolts out. I don't want to because this loosens up the belt. But the pull rope is stuck out and it squealed like crazy, so I shut it right down. Wasn't able to do the driveway over there. So we got to fix this. So I'm going to monkey around and take these bolts out. Then I'm going to find out, hopefully this isn't broken, that it's just stuck or something. And you can see this has got cuts in it where the engine can slide back. So I think this has had a couple engines on it. Well, this is going to be a slow going. I probably should have got out the pressure washer and cleaned this thing off first. But then I'd be bringing in a wet, muddy mess probably. I'll probably end up having to pressure wash it anyway. So this is going to be slow going. I'll put this on time lapse. Alright, that was a bear. The bolts are quite long, about 2 inches. Check that out. So one stripped out. What it is a slide plate. Put an X by the one that's stripped out here. Put my bolts over here. We gotta take the belt off. And the slide plate is to tighten the belt. What I would have preferred is the engine mount the opposite direction or lifted way up in the air so you can get the shroud off or clutch. But that's the way they make things. So get this belt off. I did put a belt on it a few years ago. And the engine I put on about 20 years ago. So I don't recall a lot of this stuff. So this is how much maintenance has been done. I think I changed the oil on it. And I think it's the same spark plug for all these years. It's always run pretty good. So I'm going to mount this. Well, let's look at that plate right now. Here's a top plate. So the engine just slides forward and back on this. And then underneath it, there's no access here in the front. But in the back, you can sort of get your hand up under here. And there's the plate. And that hole's all wallowed out. So it threads into this. So I'll set this like that right now. For now. And then seems like we could mount that somehow different. I don't know. And or these be different. But this is a flip over model. You just grab the handle and go the opposite direction. So now what we got to do, we'll worry about that in a little bit. But let's get this shroud off from here and see what's involved in that. It looks like there's 3 bolts. They're shooting across the street. So we need, that I might be able to reach with a wrench. This one, I don't know if I can get on there with a wrench. Let's see. Probably a socket. I didn't bring any batteries in to use the gun here. I think you're 7/16, right? Yeah. So what's happening now that nothing's hooked to it is the rope is stuck and this won't turn. So it's either got dirt in it, the springs are broke, it might need a whole new shroud, might need a pull rope assembly, I don't know. But I want to use this thing today. So I'm hoping I can fix it. One on top. And I think it's just, you know, dirt gets in there. A lot of debris. And this thing sits all the time. I haven't used this, I'm not sure I used it this year. And then sometimes I use it quite often, so what I need to do is find time in the downtime, like in the winter months, and grab each piece of machinery and service it, check it out, fix it, you know how that goes. It's what you're supposed to do. So let's see what happens if this just comes right off. It didn't sound too good. So it's definitely in the pull rope. Down inside here, the spring looks jammed. You have to bend these tabs, then you can pull this out. The spring is still hooked here. And I'm not real familiar with these, so I don't know how this operates, but right now it's not. So this sort of moves. I would imagine the spring probably broke. And I think on some of these, it's, you know, spring steel. You can grind them and cut them again if there's enough spring left over. But it's jammed, so probably broke. Maybe. Look at that. No way. Check it out. And then this fits on here. And I know there's like 3 or 4 balls down in there. And that seems fine. But see all this dirt? I think it just sucks a lot of dirt right in here. And I probably got to clean this all out. I probably can pressure wash this, get the dirt out of there. See, this is caked right up with mud. Maybe I'll take this outside, pressure wash everything. I got to unhook the cable assembly here to take the engine out. I'll pressure wash this, get it all cleaned up. That would be great if we need no parts. Right now it's working. So I'm going to clean that up. Okay, I took this outside, pressure washed it a little bit. You can see the slots in there. So I had different ways to mount the engine before. I think it's probably the second or third motor. Well, I know it's a second. It's probably at least the second motor. This was a home light. PCS 30. And this used to be a rental, like Taylor rental. But I got it from a guy who said the engine was tired and they took it home and I bought it. It's been pretty good for me. So what I did is I went out, took the engine out, pressure washed that so I could see it. It was caked up pretty good. The recoil works fine. And it's nice and quiet. I think it had dirt in it. You know, in them springs, I probably had just a little piece of stone or dirt in it. And what we got is 2 plates on here. We got this heavy one that mounts on the bottom. I scratched F for front. So this was mounted here. Just about like that. And it slides back and forth in here. And that's how you tighten the belt up. What I would rather see is like a bracket where a pulley or something, you tighten it up like an alternator. And then the engine doesn't have to be adjusted and slid around, because as I recall, this thing kept moving on me and the belt would slip. But it looks like I over tightened it last time when I put the belt on and it stripped the thread out. But the engine turns over fine. Probably got it wet enough we might have lost spark, but that's alright. We'll probably get her going. And I think what I want to do is figure out how to mount the engine differently, how to tighten that belt up differently. Before I put this shroud on, I think I better dry it out in here a little bit. Then we know it might start back up on it. Because I got it really wet. Probably the wettest this has got since I've had it, for sure. But I probably ought to start pressure washing it when I'm done with it. How nice that works now. Maybe I'll put a little WD down in there. Water displacement, right? Now go ahead and mount it up. Noisy air compressor. You can't put them outside because the cold will get too much moisture in them, you know. Gotta have them where you're working, I guess. Oh, could I reach this other one easily? So I just wish it mounted different, you know. If I had a good selection of belts, I'd consider a spacer plate bringing the engine up in the air about 3-4 inches. And what that would do is it would allow me to get to the clutch and the shroud without taking it off the machine, you know. Nothing ever is designed right. So all you guys out there should try to be engineers. Make things easy to work on. Just think of all the attachments. I think what they do is make a universal type engine and try to adapt it, is all. The engine that was on here was I think about a 3-horse. Might have been, no, maybe it was a 4-horse, but it was a home light. I could look up that serial number and see what it ever said, but I have a feeling it's all of 30 plus years old. Hey, you think this thing will run? I got it pretty wet. Think we can hang on it? That would test the rope right now. No way. The old clutch is spinning. So that's why I liked having this engine on there. It always ran good. And But to mount it, what we got to do is figure out if we can mount it any easier or for the future, because the belt has to fit down through here. I bought a green belt. It's supposed to be tougher because it kept throwing belts. It's just these blocks. I wish they were different, or if it was a single out farther, but I don't feel like changing a whole lot. But the problem is this hole needs to be rethreaded or repaired. The second plate mounts on top, and it just sandwiches and pinches together on there. And so these aren't threaded, they're just a little larger. These are like 3/8 and those are like 5/16. And you have access to the back because there's a rubber flap here. It does get some stones and debris down under there. I thought about putting a bolt right up through it, and if I did that, then I'd have to use a nut on the top, and that might be better, right? And if I did that, I could just go ahead and thread the bolt from the bottom. Once it turns in all the way, it would stay up there. I'm not sure. I could probably put a spot weld on it, a little, tack weld, hold it. And what else? Any ideas out there? Give me your ideas, would you? Put them in the comment section. The idea is I want to use it today, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I could just throw it right back on there, but that won't tighten up, and the bolt is shot. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. These are good. They're 5/16. But that one is even bent. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe at the end when I was prying it I did it, but it wouldn't turn. It just, just wallowed out. So I could almost cut off a 1/4 inch and keep using it. I'll look around for another bolt. They're about 2 inches long. Let me see if I can do nuts on the top to mount the engine. I found another bolt, and I ran a thread chase up it, and that seems to be working. Here, it's wallowed out. So what I've done in the past, if you put a weld in there, it's probably going to be a little too hard to thread, but sometimes you could take like a ball peen hammer and peen that over enough to make the hole smaller. This is flush and this is lifted. So I'm going to take a hammer, beat the crap out of that, and see if I can make the hole a little smaller so I can chase the thread on it. So, which hole is it? Right here. You see how I made it smaller? It doesn't stick up now because it was pulled out. I beat that back in both sides so it's smaller than the other one. So I'm going to try to thread chase that. So I peen that in, and I got this cheap Harbor Freight tap. I ran the die on the bolts and the tap through here. Looks like it's going to work. So I might just put it back in the same way it was. And then otherwise, like I said, it would be nice if the bolts came up from the bottom and you just put nuts on it and the bolts stayed still. But I'm not sure they will. But the next thing is the vibrating part of the motor is right under here. And I think the bolts would be hard to get it in as a unit. So I don't recall what was here before. I think I had slide plate in there. This has to be the original one. I might have made them bigger. I can't even remember. I've had this so many years now. I probably had it close to 30. I scratched F on it, so that would be the front. That goes underneath. I scratched F on this, and that goes on the top. I'm not sure why I would need the top one, but I guess it just disperses the weight evenly. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put this back under there and try it. Keep my bolts handy. Put the engine back on. So you can reach up in this flat panel here. I'll show you. See now how close that is? It's like a 1/2 inch. So I think putting the bolts in it first, I'm not going to be able to get it up in there. So I'll go back to this original plan, mount this way, put a bolt down through, and then I'll feel underneath to get the bolt started. Well, that was agonizing. I think what happened, remember how that bolt was bent? That bolt was longer than the other ones. I showed you that. This motor underneath here has like a, I don't know what you call it, egg shape. And that's what the vibration, that's what happens under here. And it looks like that might have come up and hit the bottom of that, was hammering on the bottom of that bolt. And it kind of peened over the end of it. So we swapped that around. And then you saw me put anti-seize on them. I got them threaded back in. Our belt's on. It's not too tight. Looks like it's going to work. What I have to put back on is this cobbed up throttle. And what has to happen with this is it has to move because the handle flips over. And what happened before is I had it over on this side. And see, that would clear. I'm not sure if I want it on that side or if I want it on this side. But I think it mounts to these holes. And the original throttle was all smashed, you know, that kind of thing. But if I could mount this to where this, well, this has a chain that holds it, but see, that would be too tight. It was down here, and it had that tape on it. Probably ought to do something similar. Get out some more duct tape, I guess. I just was thinking if I could mount it more professionally somewhere. But you couldn't screw it to the air cleaner, right? We'll never have to move. I'll probably just do the same thing. The holes are up here. I was hoping to go through it and hold it steady. But that definitely put too much pressure. If I come around and do it to this side, it sticks way out. Puts too much pressure on it. I think this came off another lawnmower or something. So I guess I'm not going to do anything too fancy with it. I like this plate tamper. It's paid for itself on the first job a long time ago. But I've never had to put any money into it. 20 bucks on an engine and a free throttle off an old push mower. I guess I can do that and then retape it. A couple zippers. This has a hole in it, so I could do that probably. Should be on the outside. We have to get hit out there, right? Then I'll get some more tape. I don't know if I have any duct tape out here or not. Some kind of tape. I want the chain in the way. But I'm excited to get out there and get this job done. Had a little miscellaneous breakdown. We'll fix this right up. And I think the learner would be to pressure wash it once I'm done, I guess. While I'm struggling with this, I'll come back on in a minute. I'll hunt up some tape. Okay, well, I think the zip ties are good enough because I put the top one above the chain link. That hooks onto here if you want to. I usually don't because the handle flops over. So now the cable will go over with it, and this can't fall down, so I'm fine with that. The belt, it's not too tight. The all 4 bolts are a struggle to reach. They should have designed this better, but we got to deal with it. So they're on, they're tight. Let's get the tractor in here, scoop this up, take it out there, and let's do some tamping. Test it out. Okay, an hour and a half later, the pull rope was stuck. Removed the engine. Got that repaired, found a bad bolt, got that replaced. Now I think the learner on it is to keep it clean. So when it's dry, like this is starting to dry as you can see now. It was all black before, now it's got some light spots. When it gets dusty, it gets sucked right into that engine, right into this pull rope. So let's see how she runs now. I got her wet, remember. Let's check our throttle. Well, we got something different now. so far. Here's the beginning. This is pretty hard, one pass, but I'm planning on going a couple passes. I usually go opposite directions. I had Dawson hold it so we don't tap on the front of his doors. We got some rain splash here. But I want to go over and do all this and see how much that's going to settle. It usually goes down 1/2 of an inch every pass. And then after you get a couple passes, you hardly notice it after that. But this is pretty hard. So that's why I like using Crusher Run. I'm going to keep hammering on it here. Probably set you up on time lapse and see what this is going to look like. I think probably 2 or 3 passes on everything, and that way when I go to do snow plowing and snow blowing, I'm not going to scrape it out of there. You know, it'll hard up like concrete. Oh, this turned out great, didn't it? My swayle is right here. I decided to pack this, it's not awesome topsoil, but it's like topsoil. I got this nice and flat. It's getting a little late in the season to put grass seed, so I better have it nice and flat. The water's going to run right down through there. I flattened it out here the best I could. There's a tree root right in here, and I didn't want to dig. Dawson didn't want this Crusher Run brought up. He wanted to do a little wooden ramp down so he can do like a 2-footer. He's in there doing a little framing. Over here we got to clean this out a little bit, but I packed this edge nice and tight. We'll just reach in and clean out our sluice here. That's probably where the chipmunks will hide when the kitties are after them, right in the sluice pipe. And right here's our angle back up. I'll get down here so you can see it. And then there's ash tree roots right in there. They're really up on the surface, so I didn't dare dig. And I wanted a sort of a flat surface here, but I do want it sloping back down this way. Then I could lay some, you know, split wood, whatever I want to split, put short logs here, 8-footers, 10-footers, 12-footers, and keep this driveway part open. This, tamping it 3 or 4 times, probably can't leave a mark in it. That's pretty hard stuff. The more you go over, the better it gets. Up here underneath the roof line, it's a little bit drier. You saw the dust pick up. And here's the end of the sluice. I didn't want to pack it too much here and break this down, so I'm just going to like do this. Nobody's going to drive over here. And the water does exit out of here when we get a hard rain, so I think the snow's going to melt nice. It's going to come down and exit and dry out very quickly and keep our driveways in good shape. And let me show you the slope of this thing. Get right down here, you see that? So it goes from the drive down to the culvert and back up again. I think it's going to work great. Good time of year to do it. We're going to start getting some rain. The leaves are falling. See, here they come. And it's going to firm up nice, hard as a rock, and then I'm not going to make a mess out of it with a snow blower or snow plow. And I can definitely back up in here. I can drop some logs. I can cut, split. I got an overhang here. I can probably put the splitter right in here, split right in this area under cover, and then go ahead and stack it I want to make this a little more streamlined, cut down on my time. And then we did just a little bit with Dawson's building over there, but I've only got $20 in Crusher Run, 3 yards, and just had to run and get it. And this turned out great, guys. I probably won't even put grass seed on it. Who knows? I might. But I gotta let all these leaves fall. Put grass seed down and try to use a bagger. You pick a seed right up, you know. But thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.